Some truck talk. Is that what you call it? What's up? It's Keith Kalfas, Landscaping Employee Trap. Here, just finishing a landscape job and actually driving home. I want to share some powerful things I'm learning about raising your prices and being clear with customers and dealing with things. And is it really worth it? That's the question. So imagine having a business where you make good money and all your bills are paid and you can save money and go on vacations. But what is the problem? What are the recurring things that we stick our heads in the sand about that take that from us, where we feel like it's being taken from us and our business is unenjoyable? It can become like a nightmare or a hellhole. So, and we rock back and forth in between this. So here's my example. If you're doing a low price jobs or little tiny one-off jobs or whatever it may be, think about the amount of communication and the amount of discernment and things that have to go into setting expectations or exceeding your customers' expectations around those fine lines of distinction points when you're doing a landscape job, when you're doing a maintenance, when you're putting mulch in, when you're defining a garden bed edge, when you're putting decorative stone in. There's so many pieces of communication to make sure, and I do have a lot of research to back this up, and I'm going to talk about it, to make sure that you're meeting that customer's expectations. Did you know that when you communicate something to somebody and the way they're hearing it, there's almost a 0% chance that they're understanding it 100% of the way you intended it when you spoke it or said it, right? If you were to say the word dog, and my lips are chapped, just got back from Colorado, super dry over there, it was awesome. But anyways, so I keep doing that. Anyways, if you say the word dog to somebody, that's easy. Like, how could you mess that one up? I learned this from Evan Pagan, by the way. How could you mess that up? Dog, right? But if you say that, somebody else might be thinking of a arf dog or a woof dog. They might have gotten bit by a dog when they were 3 years old and they're terrified of dogs. Somebody else might love dogs, right? So you might have to say, you know, I don't know, an English bulldog that is 18.5 pounds and it's 18 months old and it has a spot on it or something like that specifically. When you're talking about these type of things with the customer, you know, I now am at the point where I think my customers appreciate it. Maybe sometimes it could drive them nuts. I was on the phone with a customer. We just sold a landscape job. We had to push it back 5 weeks because they're getting concrete done first. And I said, I'm going to be honest. I think that the concrete should go first and then the landscaping because of the order and sequence. I don't want them to be messing up our work. What we're doing is going to be the icing on the cake. And I said, and there's one other thing, Bob. You know, we're doing this part of the landscape, but I just want to be clear with you. I want to say again, because it's this little splinter that I don't want it to come back and bite us. I just want to make sure when we do this, it's going to cause this to happen. And I can see that there's a little bit of overlap in our communication, and I want to make sure we can nail this down, but we can't tell until we do it. He says, okay. So I said, well, it causes a percentage point. And at this point, they're like, okay, you know, I can also back up with what I'm saying. Well, there's a guy I know who's been in the business 20 years. He says that's when you get to the point when you start saying, you know, we will pull weeds down to 2 inches, 1 inch from the thing. Like you start saying things so clearly defined in your contract that it's almost weird or insane. And it is all insane. But the more times you try to say we'll cross the bridge when we get there, the more times you try to like sneak through and hope you don't get bit, the more you do business is the more you're gonna be, you know, just quick thing real quick. The things I'm talking about are not popular to talk about. This is not entertaining. This does not get a lot of views. This type of talk is very boring to a lot of people. But to the people specifically who are going through and can understand exactly what I'm talking about, they go, oh, man, nobody ever talks about this stuff. But it's such a bitch to get through it, to talk it all out, because you got to talk it out in order to actually go aha, to get that aha, which can now move you to the next level, which is saying, I have to pay the price now, because you pay now or you pay later. If you pay now and you stop the customer and you say, wait a second, there's one little thing that we weren't clear on that we just browsed over, let's back up. This right here is going to cause this to happen. And you work that, massage that that unclarity until it's clear with the customer, or at least to a point where you can agree to make a compromise that when you get to there, then you'll put the ball in their court so they can make the decision. Always putting the ball in the customer's court, and then holding them accountable as well as saying, hey, when we get to, we can get to A to B, but when we get from B to C, I'm going to need you to make a decision because, I don't have a crystal ball, blah, blah, blah. Now, if they're professional people, they'll get it and they'll appreciate it. And if they get irritated or annoyed, then I don't know. And then I'll move on past that point. So, because when you're unclear with the customer, even when you think, now, do you have that amount of time to be that clear with all customers all the time? No, you don't have all that time in the world to be clarified with every little thing. I just made a mistake with a customer who's a client of mine, a very good client. They have a common area on the outside of their fence from around the foundation garden beds of their house. We did a spring cleanup, and I threw in an extra $100 to spring clean up the outside of the fence. It does not include this common area, which they've always separated it from ever since I've been working for them. They do the common area every third time they do maintenance. They keep the inside around the house beautiful. So in the quote, I didn't mention anything about weeding out the garden beds. That's not part of a spring cleanup, never was. But their previous company used to throw in weeding when they would do a spring cleanup, so the customer thinks that a spring cleanup includes pulling all the weeds. Right? So I've never heard of that, but it's not their fault. That's just what their expectation was. So I didn't put it in there. I'm not going to put in my contract, just to be clear, a spring cleanup, and I did put spring cleanup consists of blowing out all garden beds, sticks, leaves, and debris, hand raking all turf areas, and removing debris. It would say weeding, right? You don't want to say, just to be clear, spring cleanup does not include pulling of weed, does not include this, does not include, because you'd have like a 20-page contract, and that's why there are 20-page contracts, to clarify all these things. So when you sign on that line, you're accountable because you signed on that line. So to get back to what I was saying, the customer was like, hey, what the heck? How come there's a little bit of mulch on it, but you didn't mulch all those beds? Well, I'm thinking, well, there's no way that, this amount of mulch could have covered that anyways, and I thought you guys would think that, but I didn't say that. I said, well, depending on the volume of the mulch product, whether it's mulch chips, mulch bark, or if it's a lower grade double shredded hardwood mulch and there's more sediment or volume to the mulch, 1 yard of mulch can cover between 100 and 140 square feet at 2 inches, okay? Or a Walmart parking space at 2 inches. This is a long ass video. Let me pull over. So, this many yards has covered the foundation garden beds at a good thick 2 inches, like you suggested, and the landscape supplier was a little bit generous with the mulch. We had some left over, so we started putting some in the back garden beds by the bushes, and we ran out. He says, oh, well, I thought that you were going to mulch all that for that price, and it was all going to get mulched. Hey, they didn't know. I said, well, we can do it. It's just going to cost extra. We can come back Saturday and put more mulch down and weed out all the beds for you, but it's going to be extra. I said I could throw in some, some free trimming back there or something to make up for the misunderstanding. And now part of me goes, damn it, I hurt, I didn't meet my customer's expectations. It's my fault. And when I was talking to the customer on the phone about all this, going back and forth, trying to find clarity with them because they felt like their expectations weren't met, but I felt that I was very clear in my setting of expectations and with everything, because now it's really just like a pain in the ass because they're like, what the hell, I got to spend more money now? Either way, wouldn't you be pissed if you had to spend another $300 all of a sudden? So I was trying to really kind of massage that point home instead of just hitting it and say, hey, it's going to be more money for that, because I don't want to be that way. I describe very particularly descriptively to the customer. I backtracked every single piece of communication and why I would think what I thought, so I could find clarity and understanding why he thought what he thought, and then find some point in the middle to where he goes, okay, so that part was my fault because I didn't think that. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but I wanted the customer to accept accountability so I'm not stuck on the hook doing something for free. And then, so what did I do? I got out of my truck and I started pulling the weeds in the garden beds. You know, I stopped by there this evening real quick after we finished this landscape job, and I started pulling the weeds for free because I felt bad, right? And as soon as I started pulling the weeds for free, I go, what am I doing? I instantly got anxiety. First couple years in the business, I would have done it. I used to do shit for free all the time. I was so afraid my customers would get upset. I was afraid they would leave a bad review. I was just afraid. So I pulled like 3 weeds, and I get anxiety. Anytime that I feel like someone's getting one up on me, or like I'm hurting myself, self-sabotaging, now I start to get instant anxiety. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this. What am I doing? My time is so valuable. They got to pay for this. It wasn't in the quote. I'm not doing it for free. Why should I pay? If you do that all the way, now think about that. If you do it for a customer once in a while, a little something for free or whatever, in the right timing, it's golden. It pays off in dividends, and it's good practice. But if you do that quantified across a whole bunch of jobs, and you're always, you know, sticking your head in the sand, and you're always biting the bullet, and you're always doing shit for free, and you're always, you know, letting yourself be bitched or whatever it is, you know, quantified, dude, that's 50 grand a year you're losing in opportunity cost and time. It's your self-esteem going down, it's your frustration going up, and it's all these things. So I like to talk about these specific things, the ability to say no, you know. Next time I'll be more clear. But when you got a million things going on in your business all at once, and you've got, like today on the landscape job, I mean, literally the phone's ringing. Here's my favorite. I'll wrap up this video. My favorite pet peeve is when you pull up to a job, you got guys that need to work, you're telling them everything that needs to be done while materials are showing up. You're trying to order materials, they're showing up late, this is happening, you got a personal thing going on, and then a truck broke. You got so much shit going on at once that you're trying to process all this, and you're doing it all, and then but hey, maybe you're running behind schedule and you've got to call back customers and push back others. There's so much shit going on at once that you tell your guys what to do, but you got pulled aside, and now your guys just wasted 45 minutes doing something that was totally ass backwards and out of sequence, and they just pissed away all that time and money because they didn't clearly know what you're doing. But why didn't you tell them? Why didn't you tell them what they were supposed to do? Because it's so in that moment, it's like, I used to sit there and throw my hands up and say, I got to pick who I'm going to screw over right now. Who am I going to screw over? Who? So, there's people waiting on you all the time. That's how it is in this business. In the winter, nobody wants anything done unless you do snow. And then in the summer, everybody wants everything done at once. So now I've gotten to a point, and I hope this serves you, where I say, you know what? I'm only one person. This is the size. You got production and production capability. This is Stephen R. Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Production and production capability. You can only do X amount work per day. You can't put a square peg through a round hole. So the more upfront you are with your clarity, and the more upfront you are with the job description, and the more you communicate with the customer, and the more you raise the price and do just a little bit bigger dollar jobs, instead of pissing your time away doing these little tiny, you're running around chasing field mice, and all that communication and all that crap and expectations and mess ups is costing you time. There's only so many times you can slip through the cracks. So the more, I think all this comes back to how much do you value your time. The more you value your time and know that you are a high value person, and you bring a lot to the table, is the more you'll take on higher priced jobs, the more you'll raise your prices, the more you become more clear with your customers, the more you become clear with your workers, your suppliers, the more you get clear in tracking everything that you do, and putting descriptions and notes about work, and creating a standardized price chart, is the more you begin to define all this stuff and cut out the crap. It's something as simple as me to like, that's why small business owners become assholes, because you got to get really quick and to the point, and cut out feelings and cut out all the fat. So I hope this video served you. I know it was a lot of talking and probably wasn't entertaining, but clarity, the issue really comes down now to clarity. So I'm gonna send that customer an estimate. It's gonna be $300 to put 3 more yards of mulch down, and if he wants the weeds done, $60. There's not a lot of weeds at all. $360, and maybe I could throw something in free. made to make it up, or I'll throw trimming in free. That's really easy. I can trim it up or whatever it is to make them happy and make them feel like they understand, but at the same time, you know, now we know whatever that is. I want them to be happy, but I want to make sure I'm getting paid. So I want to make sure you're getting paid, and make sure you get paid. Here's another thing. Oh yeah. I said that was my pet peeve was if you go out and then the guys wasted an hour or half an hour while you were tied up because you didn't show them exactly what they needed to do, and they're doing something in a reverse order. That's happened to me several times, and it drives me nuts. My main pet peeve is mulch. I put a tarp over the mulch, and I say, don't touch the mulch. The mulch is the last thing that goes down. I want all the shrubs trimmed, all the weeds pulled, the garden beds edged out and kicked out perfectly, and everything cleaned up and perfectly done. 100% raked, done. Then you put the mulch down. Because if you don't clean everything and blow everything, and then you put the mulch down, then you can start cleaning and blowing, and then it blows all the shit right on top of the mulch. You can't fix that. It's always like this mentality that's like, it's a lazy mentality inside of all of us that just wants to get the job done, so we start skipping steps. But I've learned that it's like a choo-choo train. Things can't be skipped. You have to do things in a proper order and sequence, because you're only screwing yourself over. If you don't do things in the proper order and sequence and do it all right, and you're only one person, and you skip these steps, you're gonna have to go back and fix those steps, which is, so find the one domino that knocks over all the other dominoes, and that one domino is a really clarity. There you go. And also, if you raise your prices, you can cut out fat. So I've said no way more times than ever before. It's almost kind of scary. I don't give a shit. If you're losing your sanity and becoming a miserable person over your business, oh, here's another thing, growing your business. So me personally, I want to learn like everything about payroll taxes, and I want to know where my insurance money's going. I want to know what I'm paying for. I want to understand the cycles and seasons of this business, and get really good at this stuff and have a marketing system down before I grow my business. Because if you grow your business and now you've got all this liabilities running around, let's just say guys on the clock, right? Things that are costing you money would be a liability. If you got all this happening in this business and you're doing $1 million a year, you didn't plan this out, you just jumped into it thinking you were going to be successful. Now, the little things that used to bite you are biting you in a big way, and you don't even got the time to fix those because you're just running around putting out fires now, right? It's like going and getting a mortgage on a $500,000 house that you can't afford. Oh, we'll figure it out when we get there. And now you're working 100 hours a week while you're still going under the water. If you were on a Titanic that was sinking and you're like mopping the deck and trying to drive it, do whatever you're trying to do and fix the motors, it doesn't matter. There's a hole in the ship and the thing's sinking. And sure, you can paddle your ass off and keep throwing water off the side but it doesn't plug the hole. It doesn't fix the problem. The problem should have been fixed back there. There's an amazing saying in like life coaching about couples coaching. It's easier to raise a healthy it's a lot easier to raise a healthy intimacy than it is to try to fix a broken one. It's a lot easier to raise a healthy business than it is to try to fix a business that's a nightmare, that's all messed up, right? So if you don't even got time to, I'm gonna shut up. Enough with this video. Okay, thank you very much for watching my vlogs and videos, and I hope you have a great day. Later.